So to get started, we'll use a vegetable broth that I like to use, the Better Than Bouillon. It's a concentrate, and I use about half a tablespoon. That really gives the beans kind of a really good flavor. You can use really any kind of broth that you want to use, but I like using this concentrate because later on we'll add more water to the beans as it cooks away. I used about a full cup of beans. You can make more or less depending on how much you want to make. And then we make sure that we cook our rice, the 2-to-1 ratio, 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. Make sure you salt both of them, helps the rice not stick, you know, the usual stuff. If you use the Better Than Bouillon, make sure you mix it in, otherwise it'll kind of stay in a blob of bouillon. This way its flavor gets to all of the beans. Make sure there are no more blobs of bouillon, then you'll know it's kind of ready to cook. And it should look something like this. Very clear, very translucent. Don't forget to stir every once in a while, otherwise a lot of the stuff will stick, or sometimes you'll get beans burned to the bottom of the pan, which is not very good for cleaning up afterwards. So don't forget to stir. This is where I mess up a lot. I usually let my stuff really boil over, and you really just want the beans to be at a simmer. So as you can see here, my water is starting to get a little bit low. I just use a regular cup and put more water in. So your rice is obviously going to finish before your beans. I like working with cool rice, so I cook it alongside my beans and put it in a bowl for later. So that way it's cool and I can mold it with my hands and kind of stick it in the burritos. So once you've kind of cooked them for about 2.5 hours, you can taste test them and feel if they're the right denseness that you want. And after you know that they're the right denseness that you want, you'll want to strain it. I just put a strainer in the sink, and I don't dump them all in because I have a small strainer, but I just drain as much as I can off, and then I put it back in the pot, and then I get ready to make my burritos. I also like to let my beans cool just a little bit because I can work with my hands on making the burritos all the time. And sometimes I'll have a little snack and eat some of my beans before I make my burritos. Before you make your burritos, make sure your station is clean. Since my kitchen is small, I wipe down my table and use it. I usually put a generous spoonful of rice in my burritos. And by the way, this is a great way to have your kids involved with cooking with you. You can just have them help you form the burritos, and you can fold them if they're young anyway. Next, I put some beans on top of my rice. I put quite a bit of beans on mine because I'm pescatarian, so that's kind of my protein. And make sure you're watching out for people stealing your beans, because if you have a friend over, they'll know how good your cooking is, and you'll have to watch out for that. As you can see, a friend of mine is stealing my beans. Next, we'll put some Velveeta cheese. I like to use the Mexican style because it really kind of puts a little bit of pepper and bite into it. It makes it super cheesy and great. And then we'll fold. I like to fold it on the long way, so that way it's kind of easier to keep everything in the center. And then I just kind of fold the sides like a flap. And that kind of keeps it centered. So that way it's easy to make sure that nothing falls out, and it makes it easy that it's not a mess. After you fold your burrito, I like to put these in bags. You can use reusable Ziploc bags if you have those. I don't have any. If you're alone, you might have to open them with your teeth like I do, because it's kind of hard to open with one hand. And then you just stuff it in and make sure that you kind of get all of the air out, otherwise it kind of just builds up like frost inside the bag. So make sure that you get all of the air out before you seal it. And then it's ready to go into the freezer. So I like to make these on the weekend before I go to work. So I usually make these on a Sunday. You can really add anything you want to them. So you can add chicken, you can add bell peppers, you can add sauteed onions. It's really just versatile. You can add whatever you want, and it's very kid-friendly. And there you have it. Really simple, really easy. Takes about 10 minutes to really do all of them. This usually makes about 10 burritos, and they're really great for just prep before the week starts.